So if all the girls are trying to fuck Kanye or Chris Brown, who fucked thousands of women,
yeah,
and women are attracted to men of status and all this sort of stuff, the men that women tend to pick when it comes to their promiscuity is they have access to those men.
Yeah, I think that women will tolerate it more.
It's not a put off for these women. Whereas if a man was privy to the fact that a woman's fucked 1,000+ men, no matter her status or her attractiveness level, it's more likely to be a put off.
Well, yeah, I'm not disagreeing on the fact that like the majority of women will accept it more than men will. I'm saying it should be an issue for either sex because of you could still get an STD. You could still have to deal with the other party's dependence. You could still have someone with a avoidant attachment style who can't form proper connections because their, hormones and neuroreceptors are just totally screwed. So I think it should be concerning to either partner, but I'm not saying that it is as much for women as it is men. I think you're right about that. And I think that's silly of women, but it's a thing, yeah.
Okay. So your position is what?
You think it's silly of women?
Yes.
So I wonder, how does a woman determine a man has status?
Most women probably go for his money, his fame, all the things that he mentioned.
And also, what is considered status for men is beautiful women, right?
Sure.
So the more beautiful women that a woman has banged, it seems obvious to me that if women are going for men of status, that if beautiful women were not going for those men, they would think there was something wrong with them.
Yeah, but I think that's silly, and that might be like my touch of the tism where I don't care about like social norms, but like I think what we should value is a man's integrity, his character, his ability to be a good partner for you, not the fact that he's banged a bunch of hot chicks.
But but let's separate these two concepts, the descriptive from the prescriptive, right? So I agree with you that people should base things around virtue, right? I agree with that, but they don't. So descriptively, they don't. Doesn't it track that women, if they were looking for men of status, would be looking at men who banged a lot of women?
Well, yeah, I'm not denying that.
Because that would prove that women desire him. That's part of their status, right?
Right, but that's why I said I think it's silly. Like
But is it silly? Because because in reverse, that is not the case. It does the exact opposite for women, where men go, oh, well, your status is fucking garbage, right? Because you slept with a lot of men. Yeah. So I'm not sure.
I just think it should be the same.
Well,
I don't think it is.
I love the idea of both parties moving and gravitating towards each other based on virtues, right? I think that that's great. But that is not the case.
Well, yeah, I'm not arguing that it's not.
Yeah. So, I mean, prescriptively, I would agree with you that they should move towards virtues, but they don't. So that if they don't, right, then how can you give the advice to men, for instance, not to do this thing? How can you give them the advice to not do this thing if women will reject them if they don't do the thing? That's my whole thing. That's what I'm wondering.
Well, you shouldn't. Well, I guess it's. Well, you're religious, right?
Yeah.
So you shouldn't base it off of rejection.
Give me a secular argument.
Well, you should base it off of like what the Bible tells you to look for in a partner.
That's a religious argument.
Right. That's what I was saying.
Give me a secular argument, non-religious.
You should care about your sexual health. You should care about your mental health, like all of the things.
Those don't seem to be things which are highly affected.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but just know that there are women like me who don't find it attractive, who the slightest bit of competition turns me off. I don't want anything to do with it. Just wait for that person rather than risk all this other shit.
If a guy is really high status, he doesn't give a shit about you. He's going to have tons of women who look like you.
But we're talking about the average Joe, right?
No. In fact, the opposite. We're talking about high status men. So Brian's argument. So Brian's argument. Not just Kanye, right? That's super ultra high status, right? Brian's argument to you is he's saying, look, women seem to move towards men in a smaller group, right? So this is why men end up with thousands of sex partners. Some men, it's because they have access to them, right? They plainly have access to them.
There's no disagreement there.
But if it is true that it is looked at by women as being odd or weird that women won't go near a guy, right, because they also perceive that as social status, then how would you actually convince a man who wanted to attract really beautiful women to not have lots of sex with other beautiful women, knowing that that would be descriptively an attractive function for him?
Because there's other attractive functions, and if you want to bang a bunch of beautiful women, then I wouldn't argue that at all, by all means.
No, but it's actually going to lead to banging more beautiful women, right?
Agreed. But are you looking for the one?
So like,
or are you looking to bang a bunch of
yeah,
beautiful
but
women?
I mean, what are you going to say to one of these kind of 10%ers or 20% men who are like, oh, gee, well, let's see. I could bang one chick forever, or I could bang tons of hot chicks, and the more hot chicks I bang, the more likely hot chicks are going to let me bang them.
No, I definitely get that mentality.
Yeah. So I'm just
and
like,
if people want to live that way, that's fine.
I've had a problem with arguing against this for a long time from a secular perspective. From a religious perspective,
Right.
It's very clear. But from a non-religious perspective, how the hell are you going to convince men who are banging really, really attractive women, and the more attractive women they bang, seemingly the more attractive women they can bang, it seems to me like it's impossible to convince them otherwise.
I mean, you can tell them other things, but it's probably not going to be as big of a deterrent as you would like it to be. But also, it's not my objective as a libertarian. I don't give a shit what anybody does. Like, do what you do. So that's, you know,
You're a libertarian?
That's the closest
So gross.
alignment that I can find. Really, I'm like a centrist, but
Too much Jordan Peterson. Too much Jordan Peterson.
maybe so. Maybe it's too much Alex Jones.
Yeah, too much of him too. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's the only place we could really go with it then.
You said you also disagree with Andrew on the level of submission a woman should have to her husband. I don't know if we kind of already covered that, or if you wanted to.
No, we pretty much cleared it up.
Did we?
Yeah. Because he's saying that like there
confident
is
we
conversations just at the very end. Like if let's say you have a budget of $2,000 this month, and your wife is like, "But I want this purse," and you're like, "Well, sorry for your luck. I make the money. That's it." Like, okay, fair. But it was just based off of one clip that I got the impression that like because in this clip you said something to the effect of like, if I don't want to talk about it, I don't give a shit. And I think you should view your partner respectfully enough to always include them.
Hold on. Damien, just don't even touch the keys, please. All right. Okay, go ahead.
So I kind of got the impression that maybe like you don't include her at all and are just kind of like, which I obviously I know that it wouldn't be ever, but I kind of got the impression that maybe it's the majority of the case that you like don't have the discussion. And I think it's fine to have the ultimate say, but respect your partner enough to talk about it. But you clarified all of that earlier, so.
Well, now it's murky again, right? So let's move back. I don't actually have an objection to a man being an authoritarian tyrant from your perspective in his relationship. It's completely non-bothersome to me. I think it's fine.
But you're a Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you realize Christianity is a patristic faith?
I understand that it says that the husband also has duties to his wife too.
Yes,
like
that's
loving
correct.
his wife like Jesus loved the church, and I don't think Jesus like screw you.
I'm sorry, did Jesus have to justify anything to the church?
No, but he talked to his disciples.
Sure.
And
did he have to justify anything to them?
No, but that goes back to the last.
So who's the leader?
We don't disagree there.
Okay, so if you're the leader and you say, well, you're leading me wrong, then who's the leader then? You?
If you're a Christian, the leader should be God. So if your husband is not leading in a biblical way, you don't just submit to him and forego God.
Right? Christ?
Right.
Head. The reflection in a marriage of the head is the husband.
Right. So, but
and
if
the body,
he's not leading in a biblical way,
the body is the woman, right?
Sure, but if he's not leading in a biblical way,
that's not what Paul says. Paul doesn't say if they're not leading. What Paul says specifically is even if your husband's not leading in a biblical way, right, you should stay married to him anyway.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
Well, that's what he says.
But there's a lot of contradictions when it comes to this, and.
Well, then how could you? Honestly, how are you going to tell people what they should do as Christians then if you believe it's
Paul
contradictory?
Had more contradictions toward all of the other disciples than any of them. So, but
there's no contradictions.
You don't think?
No.
Okay. We should take notes on all the things we're going to come back to. Maybe not on here, but I'll find your Twitter.
Every biblical contradiction can easily be reconciled, and most of it is because you don't have contextualization. You read the Bible like it's an IKEA manual. It's not. right? You have to
I don't read the Bible that way.
Yeah, I mean, how else could you read it?
You read it like it's the living word.
Of?
Everything.
What does that mean? What? You're the interpreter, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how else would you read it other than an IKEA manual?
Well, you have to read it with like historical context, who it's being spoken to.
Okay.
All of the things.
Okay, so then you would agree that these contradictions that you state can be easily reconciled.
I think usually I'm not a biblical scholar, so I can't pretend that I know all of them.
But when it comes to Paul, Paul said stay married anyway, right? But here's why he said that. He said because even if you're staying married to this person who's fallen away, the chances that they find their way back is much higher. So here's the thing, right?
Then what if they don't?
Here's the idea. The idea, and I'll just give you the logical exercise, and you can see if you can correct it or hand it back to me.
Okay.
The idea is this. There can only be a leader, one leader. You agree, right?
I think...
if you're both leaders, then neither are leaders.
I think we can tag team on different topics, but I'll bite here.
Yeah,
sure.
So, okay, if you're a 4-star general, you're not in charge of another 4-star general, but you're in charge of all 3-star generals, right?
Okay.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one leader. And then here, there's one person who's following the leader, correct? You agree with that? Okay, so anytime the follower of the leader says, you aren't leading me right, so no, who's now in charge? Who's the leader now?
Okay, so but let's say in one example, let's say the Christian husband suddenly becomes pagan and is like, we're not doing this anymore, we're not going to church.
What did Paul say?
Yeah.
He said to stay married, but
he might stay married, but that doesn't mean that you have to follow the leadership in that regard, though.
I think that, and this is explained very well in Orthodoxy, and the reason I bring up Paul is just because I think it's really funny to use that example against people who are naysayers, but it has to comport with reason. And so reason, your husband can't tell you to sin. He can't tell you to go do a gangbang.
Exactly.
He can't tell you to go blow. He can't tell you to go blow other men for his own personal amusement. He can't tell you to do any of that stuff. Okay, right. Great. What about if he just says, shut up. I'm not going to justify anything to you. What's the sin?
Oh, I'm not saying it's sinful.
Well, then what's the problem? You just don't like it, right? That's the problem.
It's not going to work for me.
Yeah, you don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, though, is like it's not a sin. You can't point to anything he's doing wrong, right? It's just you don't like it. And so when people say, "Well, that's not very Christian," when I point out, I'm going to give you the 2,000 years of history where it sure looked pretty Christian. I would just like to note, how is it not?
I mean, I guess technically it could be, but I was speaking in the context of like your relationship dynamic and.
What would my personal relationship dynamic have to do with anything?
But that's where the initial thing came from, because I heard you say that and I was like, oof, are you really doing it?
Yeah, sometimes I'm an absolute tyrant. I'm like,
I believe it.
I go, I don't fucking care. Sometimes I don't care, and that's fine. I don't have to care. So the thing is, but I'm going to take this a step further and say that men who are running their marriage, right, if they are like, look, I really don't want to consult you about, I don't know, almost anything, I don't actually see a problem with that.
Do you think that maybe that contributes to like divorce rates and the fact
well,
that
first of all, I don't even think it happens that much.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Okay.
In fact, I'd say if it happened more, it would decrease divorce rates probably.
Well,
if they were like, if they just came in and gave a patronizing pat and were like, oh, honey, shut the fuck up, it's under control, right? I think it would actually decrease divorces rather than coming in and being like,
I can't argue that hypothetical.
Being like, oh, I have so much anxiety from work, right? Just saying.
Oof. I mean, I don't fully disagree there, actually.
See?
I think this brings up the cultural topic that's kind of rampant on TikTok right now, and it's that women don't want to have to make decisions. It's the idea of the passenger princess. Like, you want to be able to sit pretty and like let the man lead. So I think there's kind of merit to both of what you're saying. But I
agree with that too.
Yeah.
The one person that I did go on dates with, it's because they were like, we're going to go shooting at this time. Make sure you wear closed-toed shoes, whatever. And as a mom who also solely is the sole financial provider, you're right.
You don't have to think.
Tell me what we're doing, but do it nicely, because I'm not going to deal with a condescending asshole either.
The tone. I can't take the tone. Oh my God, the tone.
I mean, I don't.
It's terrible. I'll wake up in the middle of the night though and like smack you and be like, oh my God, I had a dream you were cheating. It's like, oh, the tone's fine then, right?
No, I don't do that shit. But
come on. You've never done that shit?
No, but do you listen to Bill Burr? Because you kind of like. You seem like you listen to Bill Burr.
I like some Bill Burr stuff.
Yeah, okay. You just like go into like you kind of sound like him sometimes.
Well, I mean, great minds think alike.
Agreed.
I'm sorry that he stole tons of my comedy bits and has taken them on the road, but I'm not going to hold it against him.
Okay, fair.
Right?
Going to Yeka, is that how you say your name?
Yes.
Okay. You had perhaps a disagreement. You said that, I think that if you are wanting a traditional relationship with someone who wants to live a biblical life, just because you have a dark past with a high body count, our Father has given us the gift of forgiveness. If you are living a new life, is Desmond on the phone? Are you, huh? If you're living a new life and have been living... Austin, is he on a phone call right now? Are you on a phone call? All right.
No, you're hearing street chatter.
Didn't sound like...
Yeah.
All right. If you're living a new life and have been living a new life for years, that's what should matter. So I'll start from the beginning. Just because you have a dark past with a high body count, our Father has given us the gift of forgiveness. If you are living a new life and have been living a new life for years, that's what should matter. Nobody is perfect.
Yeah, I think, God gives us the opportunity to be born again and be new people. And, if you've been living a new life, you let your old self die. I think everybody should deserve, another chance. Nobody's perfect. We all struggle with different things. And like I said, I think we all have an opportunity to let our old selves die and be a new person if we are living in Christ.
Yeah, sure. I think that being forgiven for those things is not only appropriate, but what Christians are called to do, right, is to ask for forgiveness for their sins, right? That's what they're supposed to do. But you wouldn't say a Christian's obligated to in any way date or not reject a woman based on body count, right?
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, so
I'm
like
just saying
if a guy was a Christian and he met with a Christian woman and he really liked her, he thought she was great, but found out that she had slept with 50 men. And he was like, well, that's a deal breaker for me. You don't have an objection to that, right?
No, not at all.
Okay, so then in some ways I think that this is just a cope position. And the reason I think it's a cope position is because what happens is many of these women go from literal online whoredom where they're like doing boy-girl content on OnlyFans, things like this, and they go, oh, well, shit, it's 30, time to get married, drop out of that, and then move over and say, now I'm a Christian. But then they get into the dating market as a Christian, and these men are like, well, I'm still not interested in you even though I'm a Christian, right? Aren't they still setting themselves up for massive failure here? Like, sure, God forgave you. Great, and I'm glad you're a Christian. But I'm still not dating you, right? Isn't that what they're going to say?
I mean, like, even with age, that stuff makes you less optimal than dating. Like you were saying, your childbearing years are when you're younger. So, I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't really understand what the point is then. Like, they understand. I mean, Christians understand the forgiveness aspect, right?
Yeah, but not everybody has a perfect past. A lot of people were raised with traumatic life events where they didn't have both parents in the household. They didn't know, what being loved by both parents was, or, grew up with a bad past.
I agree with all that.
Yeah.
But I'm not... Yeah, I don't know. I
think it's probably in reference to the episode that I was on where the girl became a Christian, and then Brian's like, kind of late now. Like, I think that's probably less of the Christian.
He was probably so if it came to this idea of sexual dynamics, then it's becoming a Christian is not going to erase your sexual history.
I think pretty much only Christians will be the ones if they hold that view that would kind of be forgiving of it.
Oh, they'll forgive it. That doesn't mean that they're gonna. That doesn't mean that they're gonna, put a ring on it, though.
Right. And they don't have to.
So
is that it? That's your position?
Yeah.
So are you, when you say like, okay, so you can be forgiven through your faith or whatever, but you think it's like objectionable if men would refuse to date you because of your dark past of a high body count?
I mean, I'm not saying it's objectionable. I just think that other people with similar pasts look at it like it's bad, like, oh, you can't do that, but I can do it, kind of like thing.
So why would that be a problem?
It's giving, like, it's saying that women can't have a bad past, but the guy can have a bad past. Like, I don't think that's...
Well, I mean, it's so this just comes down to preferences, right? So it's like this idea is, okay, let us assume for a moment you have a man, he converts around the same time you do. Let's assume inside the hypothetical that both of you slept with 1,000 people, okay? Not saying you have, of course not. I'm just saying in the hypothetical, we're just like assuming this, right? Doesn't even have to be you, just woman, man, both of them slept with 1,000 guys or people. They converted at the exact same time. They meet each other. They like each other. They both find out that the other one has slept with 1,000 people. It's a deal breaker for the guy, not for the girl. Says, well, wait a second. You slept with 1,000 too. He says, yeah, but I don't care. I still don't want to date you based on the fact that you have. I still don't actually see a problem with that. Like, I can't figure out what the actual issue with that would be.
I mean, yeah, I guess everybody has their own preferences, but yeah, I don't think it would be okay if both people have similar dark pasts and one person's like, no, I don't. It's okay that I did it, but it's not okay that you did it.
Well, no. Well, you're both starting from the same slate, though. So you both have been forgiven for the sins, right? So, and you're both pursuing Christianity, Christian ethics, right? Okay. So you're starting equal. So he just says, okay, based on your past, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's okay.
Why is that not okay?
It's kind of hypocritical.
Yeah, but so what? Why can't you be hypocritical in dating preferences?
Because I think you should hold your...
I definitely 100%, right, think that if you've ever slept with a guy, right, that it would be a deal breaker with you if a guy ever slept with another guy. Would that be a deal breaker?
If a guy that I slept with...
If a guy slept with another guy, would that be a deal breaker for you?
Yeah.
Have you ever slept with a guy? Fucking hypocrite. You tell me, have you ever slept with a guy? Hypocrite. Have you?
Yeah, but not with somebody of the same sex.
So what? You still slept with a man, and he slept with a man. Why would that be a deal breaker, hypocrite?
Because one involves homosexuality and the other doesn't. Andrew,
well, wait
you're
a second.
Wait.
Are they both sleeping with men?
Weak argument.
Are they both sleeping with men?
You can do better.
I'll refute it.
One has to do with homosexuality, which doesn't align with Christian values.
Okay, wait a second. That wasn't my question. My question had nothing to do with Christian values. My question was, would you ever date a guy who slept with a guy? Answer is no. Okay, but he's expected to sleep with you who slept with another guy. It's like, okay, that would be hypocrisy. Tell me how it wouldn't be.
Because she probably wants men who are attracted to women.
They could still be attracted to women.
She would, okay. Are they?
Only attracted to women.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what? So we could reduce anything that way, in fact. We could just endlessly make reductions.
Sure, but you should probably, can you give a better,
why do I need to give
closely aligned argument?
As soon as you give a logical refutation of the first argument.
But you were the initial person arguing.
Nope, she was. She said it's a hypocrisy. I gave a counterexample of hypocrisy. You have refuted not my example of hypocrisy.
You're just not accepting that it's a false equivalency.
What's false about the equivalency?
One involves homosexuality, the other does not.
Oh, okay. So anytime that you make an analogy between two things which are hypocrisy, you agree they're always going to be different, right?
Well,
hang on. You agree with me that anything you compare to anything else is always going to be different than the thing you're comparing it to?
I think you can compare things that are a little bit more closely aligned.
Not my question. You're evading.
No, I don't.
Is every instance of hypocrisy is going to be different than another? So anytime you say you're a hypocrite, no, you're a hypocrite, you both have done hypocritical things that are not the same thing. So